Do you feel like you don't speak enough Filipino? That you need to know more words? Then stick around. With these lessons, you'll pick up some of the most common words in just a few minutes. Now, this video is a small portion of our learning program. To get the full lessons, translations, and fluency fast study tools, click the link in the description and sign up for your free lifetime account.
Hi everyone, kamusta? I'm Erica, and welcome to Filipino Top Words. So for today's lesson, we are going to talk about top 25 verbs that you will need when you go to the Philippines. So let's go ahead and get started. Maging, to become. Maging, to become. Maging can mean to be or to become. Mahirap maging hindi tapat sa sarili. It's hard not to be honest with yourself. Gustuhin, to like. So next word is gustuhin, to like. Nagustuhan niya ang pinadala mo. She liked what you sent. Gawin, to do. Next word is gawin, which means to do. It's easier said than done. In Filipino, we say, mas madaling sabihin kaysa gawin. And your mom will always use this because your mom always has many things that she wants you to do. Sabihin, to say. So our next verb is sabihin. In English, it can mean either to say or to tell. So for example, we want to say in English, don't tell our secret to anyone. In Filipino, you would say, huwag mong sabihin ang sikreto natin kahit kanino. Ipaliwanag, to explain. Ipaliwanag, to explain. Dapat ipaliwanag ng guro ng mabuti ang paksa. The teacher should explain the matter thoroughly. So for example, you're resting, looking at your phone, and then here comes your mom and tells you, magpaliwanag ka. Explain. This is very useful when you have to talk to your mom. Marinig, to hear. Marinig, to hear. Hindi kita marinig. I can't hear you. Again, you can use this when you're talking to your mom. Probably you can tell her, I didn't do this because I didn't hear you tell me do this. That's a very unsatisfactory answer for your mom all the time. Pumunta, to go. Pumunta, to go. So we can say, gusto kong pumunta sa Palawan. I want to go to Palawan. Tara na, biyahe tayo. Alamin, to know. Alamin, to know. Gusto kong alamin kung mas mahirap bang matutunan ang Japanese o Chinese. I want to know if it's harder to learn Japanese or Chinese. Compared to Japanese or Chinese, Filipino is easier, right? So, please take the time to study Filipino. You will take less time than studying Japanese than if you go and study Japanese or Chinese. So, you know what to learn. Kunin, to take. Kunin, to take. For example, we want to say in English, please take the bill so that we can leave already. In Filipino, what you will say is, kunin mo na ang bill natin para makaalis na tayo. So when you go to the Philippines and you eat at a restaurant and you want to ask for the check, just do this hand sign. Makita, to see. Makita, to see. Huwag kang mainis pag nakita mo. Don't get annoyed when you see it. So what are the things that you get annoyed when you see? Dumating, to arrive. Dumating, to arrive. Dumating na ang pinakahihintay mong balita. Your long-awaited news has finally arrived. Isipin, to think. Isipin, to think. Isipin nating mabuti bago magdesisyon. Let's think of it thoroughly before making a decision. Actually, this is very important because every day of your life you have to think. Tumingin, to look. Tumingin, to look. Huwag kang tumingin sa malayo pag may kausap ka. Don't look far away when you're talking with someone. Because obviously you're talking with someone, right? How would it feel like if you're talking to this person face to face and you're looking at the side like this? Naisin, to want. Naisin, to want. I want to become an engineer rather than be a doctor. Mas nais kong maging inhinyero kaysa maging doktor. Magbigay, to give. Magbigay, to give. For example, someone asks you, oh, who can give me advice on something? And then you say, Alex gives excellent advice on whatever that is. In Filipino, how you would say it, magaling magbigay ng payo si Alex. Gamitin, to use. Gamitin, to use. So for example, I don't know where you can use actually you can use gamitin a lot. For example, let's use it in a proper sentence. Hindi natin pwedeng gamitin ang may nakasulat na bawal gamitin. So in English, we can say, we can't use the ones which are marked don't use. I have a pretty straightforward, don't use it. Hanapin, to find. Hanapin, to find. You're asking your mom, where is this thing that I'm looking for? So she says, Pina, find it in the second drawer. In Filipino, it means, hanapin mo sa ikalawang drawer. Usually, your mom will call you Pina, according to her, if you don't use your eyes to look for things. It's actually very useful. So just remember that if you are going to look for something, don't ask your mom. Because you don't know what kind of fate will befall you. You might be a pineapple at the end. Lumabas, to go out. Lumabas, or to go out. So, you want to ask permission from your parents before you go out. How do we say it in Filipino? Magpaalam ka muna sa iyong mga magulang bago ka lumabas. Ask permission from your parents before you go out. Someday, kids, you will be parents too. Magtanong, to ask. Magtanong, to ask. So, for example, you have a new office mate and you want to tell your office mate, huwag kang mahiyang magtanong kapag hindi mo alam ang sagot. In English, what you just said means, don't hesitate to ask if you don't know the answer. Magtrabaho, to work. The next verb is magtrabaho, or to work. So, for example, you want to say, as much as possible, I don't want to work overtime. In Filipino, you can tell your boss, ayaw kong magtrabaho ng overtime hanggat maaari. Mag, it's the way you conjugate verbs, but it's in Filipino. And then trabaho comes from the Spanish word trabajo. Pumasok, to enter. Pumasok, to enter. For example, you went to a club and you have a friend who looks 18, actually, who looks younger than 18, like a high school student. So you can tell this friend, you are not allowed to enter the club if you're under 18 years old. Or in Filipino, bawal pumasok sa club ang mas bata sa 18 taong gulang. Maramdaman, to feel. So next verb is maramdaman, or to feel. For example, you really are irritated with a person and you don't want the person to feel that you're irritated with him or her. So if you want to say in English, I don't want her to feel that I'm frustrated, then you would say, in Filipino, ayaw kong maramdaman niya ang inis ko sa kanya. But I think you have to approach her and tell her that you are frustrated. So go ahead and tell her. Subukan, to try. Subukan. This again, some like really inspiring example sentences that we have here. You want to say to your friend, because you want to be really encouraging, why don't you try it before you say that you can't? And assuming that this friend cannot understand English, then you would have to learn the Filipino. You would say, bakit di mo subukan bago mo sabihin na hindi mo kaya? Mag-iwan, to leave. Mag-iwan. It actually means to leave something. You want to say in Filipino, mag-iwan ka ng 500 pesos or ng 500 piso para pambili ng pagkain. In English, please leave 500 pesos to buy food. Tumakbo, to run. Last verb for this lesson is tumakbo, or to run. So, for example, you are running and then you realize it's 200 meters already. So you would say, it's tiring to run more than 200 meters. And in Filipino, if you really want to say it, you would say, nakakapagod tumakbo ng higit sa 200 metro. So that's it for our lesson for today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Do you have any other Filipino verbs that you know that didn't make it to the list? Go ahead and don't hesitate. Please subscribe. Stay here until the next lesson begins.
May isang batang lalaki na nagbabasa ng kanyang talaarawan. Ano ang unang bagay na ginawa ng batang lalaki ngayong araw na ito?
Maganda ang panahon. Nag-swimming ako sa pool noong hapon. Tapos, Nagpunta ako sa sinehan nung kinagabihan. Nag-aral din ako ng buong umaga. Hindi na masama.
Ano ang unang bagay na ginawa ng batang lalaki ngayong araw na ito? May isang batang lalaki na nagbabasa ng kanyang talaarawan. Ano ang unang bagay na ginawa ng batang lalaki ngayong araw na ito?
Maganda ang panahon. Nag-swimming ako sa pool noong hapon. Tapos, nagpunta ako sa sinehan nung kinagabihan. Nag-aral din ako ng buong umaga. Hindi na masama.
May isang lalaki at isang babae na tumitingin sa isang larawan. Anong larawan ang tinitignan nila? Ito yung larawan ng soccer team kung saan miyembro ang anak mo, hindi ba? Sino dito ang anak mo?
Ito,
Siya ang pinakamatangkad.
oo, mas matangkad pa siya kaysa sa akin.
Anong larawan ang tinitignan nila? May isang lalaki at isang babae na tumitingin sa isang larawan. Anong larawan ang tinitignan nila? Ito yung larawan ng soccer team kung saan miyembro ang anak mo, hindi ba? Sino dito ang anak mo?
Ito,
Siya ang pinakamatangkad.
oo, mas matangkad pa siya kaysa sa akin.
Kamusta?
Kamusta?
Kamusta ka na?
Mabuti naman. Salamat. Ikaw, kamusta ka na?
Ganun pa rin, gaya noon.
Kamusta? Ako po si Ana.
Kamusta? Ako po si Maya.
Ikinagagalak kong makilala ka.
Ako rin. Masaya akong makilala ka.
Magandang umaga. Tuloy po kayo.
Salamat. May regalo ako para sa'yo.
Talaga? Maraming salamat.
Walang anuman.
Aray! Paumanhin po.
Bakit po? Ano pong nangyari?
Inaapakan niyo po ang paa ko.
Pasensya na po. Hindi ko po talaga sinasadya. Magandang gabi po. Tuloy po kayo.
Pahingi po ako ng menu.
Opo, sandali lang po.
Pahingi rin po ng tubig.
Sige po, sandali lang po.
Miss, kunin niyo na po ang order ko.
Sige po.
May isang babae na nagtatanong sa salesman sa isang tindahan ng libro. Anong libro ang gustong makita ng babae? Mawalang galang lang. Gusto ko sanang makita yung libro sa istanteng iyon.
Anong librong gusto mo?
Yung tungkol sa mga kotse.
Sandali lang. Eto ba?
Oo, iyan nga.
Eto na.
Anong libro ang gustong makita ng babae? May isang babae na nagtatanong sa salesman sa isang tindahan ng libro. Anong libro ang gustong makita ng babae? Mawalang galang lang. Gusto ko sanang makita yung libro sa istanteng iyon.
Anong librong gusto mo?
Yung tungkol sa mga kotse.
Sandali lang. Eto ba?
Oo, iyan nga.
Eto na.
May isang babae at isang lalaki na tumitingin sa menu sa isang kainan. Ano ang o-orderin ng lalaki?
Ano ang orderin mo?
Mukhang masarap ang pizza. Sa palagay ko, yun ang o-orderin ko.
Nagpizza ako kahapon. Kaya
Okay, ano kaya kung hamburger?
mukhang masarap. Sige, yun ang orderin ko.
Ano ang o-orderin ng lalaki? May isang babae at isang lalaki na tumitingin sa menu sa isang kainan. Ano ang o-orderin ng lalaki?
Ano ang orderin mo?
Mukhang masarap ang pizza. Sa palagay ko, yun ang o-orderin ko.
Nagpizza ako kahapon. Kaya
Okay, ano kaya kung hamburger?
mukhang masarap. Sige, yun ang orderin ko.
Want to speak real Filipino from your first lesson? Sign up for your free lifetime account at filipinopod101.com.
Hi, I'm Erica, and welcome to Filipino Top Words. Today we are going to learn 10 phrases to amaze native speakers. Salamat, pero sa totoo lang, hindi ako isang native speaker. Thank you, but I'm not a native speaker actually. Salamat, pero sa totoo lang, hindi ako isang native speaker. Thank you, but I'm not a native speaker actually. If you start learning now, you'll be one of those few foreigners who can amaze Filipinos. Isang taon lang ang kinailangan ko para maging mahusay sa pagsasalita. It took me only 1 year to become fluent. Isang taon lang ang kinailangan ko para maging mahusay sa pagsasalita. It took me only 1 year to become fluent. So, I don't know how easy actually Filipino is for foreign people. I don't know if in 1 year you'll be able to speak it. Probably like the basics of it, right? Because Filipino, you don't really need to learn new alphabet. And also, some of the words are in Spanish. So if you kind of know Spanish, then you would most probably understand some of the words. But for you to be able to speak 1 year, I think is fine. But for you to be able to actually understand all the nuances in the language, then 1 year is probably a bit too short. Makakapagsalita ako ng Filipino gaya ng isang Pilipino sa loob ng 3 taon. I'll speak Filipino like a native speaker in 3 years. Makakapagsalita ako ng Filipino gaya ng isang Pilipino sa loob ng 3 taon. I'll speak Filipino like a native speaker in 3 years. That's actually a good target, right? But of course, there's still so many things that you won't be, probably like inside jokes, right? Like, or especially since Filipino language is, like any other language, is continuously evolving, right? Because we have lots of slang now, right? Like slang that you get from American slang, and then also gay lingo, right? So all of those words. And then usually when you learn Filipino, you won't get to hear those slang or like street words. And most people actually use a bit of like casual. They only use really formal Filipino in say formal situations, formal settings. So this is a good target, but good luck. 10 taon na akong nag-aaral ng Filipino. I've been learning Filipino for 10 years. 10 taon na akong nag-aaral ng Filipino. I've been learning Filipino for 10 years. That's actually very good. I mean, for us, like English, we take so many years and still there's some things that you cannot understand. So for instance, we learn English, like standard English, right? And then you talk to, say, an American or to a British person. And then there's so many words that you cannot understand. But you cannot understand them because these are like, but it's like the usage of the words is different from how you learned it from the dictionary. Sometimes when you speak to them, you sound so formal. 10 years is very good. Kaya kong manood ng mga pelikulang Filipino nang walang subtitle. I can watch Filipino movies without subtitles. Kaya kong manood ng mga pelikulang Filipino nang walang subtitle. I can watch Filipino movies without subtitles. We are releasing so many indie movies recently. Those are really good movies, so please watch Filipino movies. And if you can see them without subtitles, very good. Kaya kong magkabisa ng higit kumulang mga 50 bagong salitang Filipino kada araw. I can memorize around 50 new Filipino words a day. Kaya kong magkabisa ng higit kumulang mga 50 bagong salitang Filipino kada araw. I can memorize around 50 new Filipino words a day. Oh, that's very impressive. I don't have memories. Masaya at madaling aralin ang Filipino. Filipino is fun and easy to learn. Masaya at madaling aralin ang Filipino. Filipino is fun and easy to learn. Yeah, which actually it is, right? I think it's easier compared to, say, Japanese or Chinese. Because as I've said, first, Filipino, you don't need to learn new alphabet, which immediately makes it easy, right? Because learning a new alphabet is very hard, right? I mean, if you say, for example, walk in the streets and then you can read the signs, that's already something. Because, say, you go to Japan, then you see all the signs, and you cannot read kanji, or hiragana, or katakana, right? Then you cannot, it's like as if you're lost. But at least with Filipino, then you can immediately read the signs. And then the next thing is, you learn the words. Naintindihan ko ang lahat ng sinabi mo. I completely understood everything you said. Naintindihan ko ang lahat ng sinabi mo. I completely understood everything you said. Yeah, so when someone tells you this, then they're amazed. Yeah, so that's why they're just like, oh, great. So for example, someone tells you this very long explanation about something. Then, as a Filipino, you can simply say, gets ko. Because that's very Filipino actually, which means, I got it. Marami akong alam na slang sa Filipino. I know a lot of slang words in Filipino. Marami akong alam na slang sa Filipino. I know a lot of slang words in Filipino. It depends also when you use the slang words, because not in all circumstances can you use slang words, right? Especially if you're just meeting someone for the first time, then you would want to be a bit more formal. Then becoming too formal is not natural. It can be seen as sarcastic even. Actually, I think the key to being thought of as fluent is like getting this balance of being like casual, natural, and also a bit like more formal, right? I think so. Nakakabasa na ako ng nobela sa Filipino. I can now read a novel in Filipino. Nakakabasa na ako ng nobela sa Filipino. I can now read a novel in Filipino, which is very good. If you read actual like old Filipino novels, it's very, what do you call this, like flowery. It's like it really evokes emotions when you read Filipino novels. It's actually hard to write in really, say, old poetic Filipino now. So that's it for today's Filipino top words. What sentence would you say to amaze us? But actually, we're easily amazed, so don't hesitate to write anything down below. Or comment, because you might comment negative things, right? Okay. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you want to see other videos like this, then head on to filipinopod101.com. See you in the next lesson.
Naintindihan ko ang lahat ng sinabi mo.
Marami akong alam. Inay, ito na po ang inyong pansit. Na binili ko sa kanto. Inay, wag mo akong iwan, inay. Hi, my name is Erica, and welcome to Filipino Top Words. Our lesson for today is how to respond to how are you. Let's go. Kamusta? Kamusta? How are you? So the first word is, how are you? In Filipino, kamusta? So this is very useful when you pass by someone, you want to know how they are, right? Or to just want to ask someone how they are. At ikaw? At ikaw. And you? At ikaw? Or in English, and you? How do you usually respond when people ask you, how are you? And you? So if you are trying to avoid answering this question, you can ask, at ikaw? Or, and you? Probably you're like feeling too tired from work or something, right? Or you can, like casually, more people would say, ikaw? Or just simply, ikaw? It all means, and you. So it's a kind of like a nice gesture if someone asks you, how are you? And then you want to ask the same question because you just want to be nice. Kamusta ka naman kamakailan? Kamusta ka naman kamakailan? How have you been recently? So if you want to be more specific about asking them how they are in a certain period of time, you can ask, kamusta ka naman kamakailan? Or, how have you been recently? So probably you would have friends that would have gone to vacation or would have found a new job or would have graduated from university, which is all me. And then you can ask them, how have you been recently? Mabuti ako. Mabuti ako. I'm fine. So how do you answer all these how are you questions and variations of how are you? First, you can say, if you are really feeling this, mabuti ako, or I'm fine. Of course, you can say it if you're not fine, right? I mean, if you just want to because sometimes when you say, I'm not so okay, I'm feeling a bit down, then they would ask you more things. But sometimes if you don't want to answer any of these things, but you are not fine, you can still say, I'm fine. But in Filipino, you ask people how are you because you want to know how they are. Or we don't really say this as a greeting. Okay naman ako. Okay naman ako. I'm not bad. Aside from I'm fine, how can you respond to how are you? You can say, okay naman ako, or I'm not bad. So if you are feeling like saying that you are not so fine, but you are also not fine, you can say, well, I'm not bad. It's okay. Everything's cool. But I'm crying inside. I'm dead inside. Okay. Inaantok ako. Inaantok ako. I'm sleepy. If you're feeling sleepy, you can say, inaantok ako, or I'm sleepy. After lunch, usually that's the time when you feel this, you're really sleepy. Even though you have lots of work, you're feeling sleepy, or sometimes you don't have lots of work, you're feeling sleepy. So, you can say it. It's valid, it's okay. Just don't say it to your boss. I don't think, if your boss asks you, how are you? I'm sleepy. Oh, that's not really good. Well, probably should go home, not come back anymore. Goodbye. Thank you for your service. That's how it will go, right? Masama ang pakiramdam ko. Masama ang pakiramdam ko. I'm feeling bad. Or if you are not feeling so well, you can say, masama ang pakiramdam ko. Or, I'm feeling bad. So, you can say this if you have a bit of cold, for instance, or your stomach is upset, or what else? Or you have a broken heart, those kinds of things. So, if you want to say that you're feeling bad, you say, masama ang pakiramdam ko. Okay ako. Okay ako. I'm okay. But what if you're just fine? What if you're just okay, but you don't want to say, I'm fine? Or mabuti naman ako, or ayos naman ako. You can also say casually, okay ako, which is very casual. Very simple, okay ako. Okay na okay ako. Okay na okay ako. I'm great. If you want to say that you are really doing great, then you can say, okay na okay ako. You would have to note that in Filipino, when you repeat words, it, what's it called? It's a superlative version of the adjective, kind of. But it's not. But it's kind of amps up the impact of the adjective. So it's equivalent to very. So you would say, okay na okay ako, meaning I'm super duper okay, right? Or if you're really, for instance, sleepy, you would say, antok na antok ako, instead of just saying antok ako, right? Salamat sa pagtatanong. Salamat sa pagtatanong. Thank you for asking. And for instance, you were feeling bad and then this person that asked you, how are you, made you feel happy, then you can say, thank you for asking, or salamat sa pagtatanong. Because of course, you felt happy that someone asked you, especially if you're feeling bad. So that's it for the end of this lesson. Hope you learned something new. And what do you usually say to your friends, your colleagues, people who ask you how you are? And how do they respond to you? Leave them in the comment section and don't forget to like, subscribe, and visit FilipinoPod101.com to learn more Filipino. Salamat! Hanggang sa muli! Hi, welcome everyone. I'm Erica and welcome to Filipino Top Words. For today, our lesson is the top 10 phrases your parents always say. So let's see what your parents usually say to you. Mag-ingat ka. Mag-ingat ka. Be careful. So usually your parents will say this to you if you are leaving the house or usually send you a text, "Oh, be careful." Or sometimes they will jokingly say, mag-ingat sila sa'yo. In English, they should be careful of you because you are a danger to society. Look at you. Tumahimik ka. Tumahimik ka. Be quiet. So, usually, if you're very loud, your parents will tell this to you. Your mom might be mad because you said something or you're just talking back, right? And then she will say, tumahimik ka. Or just like sometimes you're just like very talkative and your mom is like watching TV, some soap opera. She will say, tumahimik ka. Magtino ka nga. Magtino ka nga. Behave. The weight of the meaning in Filipino is kind of different in English, right? Because in English, you would just say, okay, behave. But in Filipino, it's as if like you did something really bad. This like if you watch many, like say, family dramas or very dramatic movies, Filipino movies, there's always the scene where the dad is telling the kid, magtino ka nga. Gawin mo ang iyong takdang aralin. Gawin mo ang iyong takdang aralin. Do your homework. This is very useful, and this is something that you would always hear from your parents, especially if you have a helicopter mom, right? Helicopter mom is like those moms that are usually over... This is real. Helicopter parenting is a parent who pays extremely close attention to a child or children's experiences and problem, particularly at educational institutions. You know, those kinds of parents who are always waiting. Actually, my mom was like that. No, she's not a helicopter mom, but she's always like waiting outside the school, waiting for me to come out of the school. I think my mom just hangs out there because she has many friends. Doesn't really care. Matulog ka na. Matulog ka na. Go to bed. I actually go to bed earlier than my mom. So I tell her, let's go to bed because I just want to sleep. I don't know what she's doing. This is a very common phrase that I hear between my mom and my sister. Because my sister, I don't know, she watches so much telenovelas in the evening. Magbibilang ako hanggang 3. Magbibilang ako hanggang 3. I'm going to count to 3. But my mom just counts to 1. I don't know if she's really good at counting, but she just counts to 1 and they're like, pah, right? Tumigil ka. Tumigil ka. Stop. I don't know, it's a common thing to hear from your mom. Because I know she's just always irritated. She's always irritated. You do something and then she's like, tumigil ka. You do something, tumigil ka, right? I remember my sister is always initiating fights. Not me. She's always starting the fight. And she just bites. And when she starts biting, I'm just like, no, I'm out. I don't want this. I didn't ask for this. Anong sinabi mo? Anong sinabi mo? What did you say? When you say something a bit like, they didn't like it, when you say it or how you said it, the words you use, they would say, what did you say? But I think they just have a problem with their hearing. Hindi ako nagbibiro. Hindi ako nagbibiro. I'm not kidding. Yeah, you should understand this when she says this. And usually she's not kidding. Because she's always like, I'm not kidding. If you don't stop this, right? Hindi ako nagbibiro. Kung hindi ka tumigil, kung hindi ka titigil, blah, 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 blah. Then a long list of the stuff that she won't do or she would do, depending, right? She won't do, for instance, she won't like cook anymore, or she won't help you with your homework or stuff like that. Moms are always not kidding. Patayin mo na ang TV. Kung hindi, patayin mo na ang TV. Kung hindi, turn the TV off now, or else. So that is the same thing, the same scenario that I was talking about when she says, I'm not kidding, or else, because there's always an or else, right? So, turn off the TV or turn off the PC, right? Patayin mo na ang TV, patayin mo na ang PC, or else, kung hindi, and then a list of things that she would do or she won't do. So this is the end of our lesson. What does your mom usually tell you? ouryourmom.com to learn more Filipino. Hanggang sa muli! In the last lesson, we learned how to be grateful to people by saying salamat. In this lesson, we'll learn some of the most common greetings used in the Philippines. Handa na ba kayo? Are you ready? Then let's start. First, we'll learn the greetings we use when meeting people. Kamusta? Kamusta. Do you remember this from the first lesson? Kamusta literally means, how are you? But it is used as hi or hello. Musta is a shortened version of kamusta, which you can use when greeting friends. Musta, for formal situations, we use kamusta po. Kamusta po. Now, here are sometimes specific greetings used when meeting people. Magandang araw. Magandang araw. Literally, magandang araw means good day. To be more specific about which time in the day we greet someone, we use magandang umaga, magandang tanghali, and magandang hapon, meaning good morning, good noon, and good afternoon respectively. Magandang umaga. Magandang tanghali. Magandang hapon. During the evening, there is only one greeting, and that is magandang gabi. Magandang gabi. Maganda means beautiful or good. The connector ng is added to connect maganda and gabi. In formal situations, you just need to add po to the Filipino greetings I've already mentioned. Magandang araw po, magandang umaga po, magandang tanghali po, magandang hapon po, magandang gabi po. Are you ready for more? Next are some greetings we use when leaving. To say goodbye in Filipino, we say paalam. Paalam. We also have sige mauna na ako. Literally, all right, I'll go ahead. And is a more casual way of saying goodbye. Sige, mauna na ako. Finally, we have hanggang sa muli, meaning see you again. Hanggang sa muli. Again, to make these formal, we just need to add po. Paalam po. Sige, mauna na po ako. Hanggang sa muli po. Now you can greet people in many different ways in Filipino. Let's review them all again. Here are the greetings we use when meeting people. Kamusta? Magandang araw. Magandang umaga. Magandang tanghali. Magandang hapon. Magandang gabi. When leaving, we have paalam. Sige, mauna na ako. Hanggang sa muli. For greeting people who are older than you, just add po. It's easy, isn't it? Now it's time for Erica's tips. Another famous greeting you might hear in the Philippines is mabuhay. This literally means live, but it's used to mean welcome. It is used in formal situations like when welcoming an audience during events, or when welcoming people into the country, but not necessarily when welcoming guests to your home. Kamusta? Ako si Erica. Kinagagalak kong makilala ka. Hi, I'm Erica. Nice to meet you. In this series, we're going to learn basic Filipino expressions. It's super easy and it only takes 3 minutes. In this lesson, you're going to learn how to introduce yourself in Filipino. Are you ready? Here we go. Kamusta? Ako si Erica. Kinagagalak kong makilala ka. Hi, I'm Erica. It's nice to meet you. Kamusta? Ako si Erica. Kinagagalak kong makilala ka. Did you get it? Let's take it step by step. Start by saying, Kamusta? This means, how are you? But is commonly used to say, hi in Filipino. Next, say, Ako si, I am, and then your name. My name is Erica, so I'll say, Ako si Erica. Finally, say, Kinagagalak kong makilala ka. This means, it's nice to meet you. Kinagagalak kong makilala ka. Kamusta? Ako si Erica. Kinagagalak kong makilala ka. Next, we're going to learn how to introduce ourselves in formal Filipino. But first, I'll teach you 2 words that turns any Filipino sentence formal. They are po and opo. Po, opo. All Filipinos learn these 2 words when they are young because they are a must when speaking politely to those who are older. Now here's how to introduce yourself in formal Filipino. Kamusta po? Ako si Erica Reyes. Kinagagalak ko po kayong makilala. How are you? I'm Erica Reyes. It's nice to meet you. Kamusta po? Ako si Erica Reyes. Kinagagalak ko po kayong makilala. Did you notice the word po in this introduction? Let's compare it with the informal introduction we learned earlier. First, we have kamusta po instead of just kamusta. As we've said before, kamusta means how are you and has essentially the same use as hi in English. It comes from the Spanish phrase ¿Cómo está? We add the word po to this to make it polite. For the next sentence, there is no need to change ako si or I am. However, saying your full name is considered more formal. In the Philippines, we say our first names first and last names last. Finally, pay attention to the ending. We went from kinagagalak kong makilala ka to kinagagalak ko po kayong makilala. Ka or you is changed to the plural pronoun kayo to make the sentence more formal. The pronoun is moved to the front of the verb, and ng is added to connect the words. Finally, we also add po to the sentence to show respect. One more time. The informal way to introduce yourself in Filipino is, Kamusta? Ako si Erica. Kinagagalak kong makilala ka. The formal way to introduce yourself is, Kamusta po? Ako si Erica Reyes. Kinagagalak ko po kayong makilala. Now it's time for Erica's tips. Have you gotten hold of saying, Kinagagalak kong makilala ka? Well, you might be surprised, but Filipinos say, Nice to meet you, more often than its Filipino counterpart. This is because many English words and phrases are used in daily conversation since English is the second official language of the Philippines. Filipinos also shake hands during first meetings, just like in many Western cultures. But of course, if you use the proper Filipino introduction, your new Filipino friends will definitely be impressed. In the last lesson, we learned the most common greetings in Filipino. Do you remember them? In this lesson, we're going to learn a very useful phrase. Do you speak English? This phrase can be a lifesaver. The majority of Filipino people understand English. But if you ask in Filipino, you can be sure that everyone will understand what you're saying, even if their answer is no. Here's the informal way to ask it. Nagsasalita ka ba ng Ingles? Nagsasalita ka ba ng Ingles? Let's break down the sentence. In Filipino, the verb can come before the subject. Nagsasalita means speaking, followed by ka, which means you. Next, there is ba, which is the question marking particle. After it comes ng, which acts as an object marking particle, marking Ingles, which, as you might have guessed, is English. Another common way to ask if someone can speak English is, marunong ka bang mag-Ingles? Literally, this means, can you do English? Marunong ka bang mag-Ingles? Now we're going to make these sentences formal. Filipinos follow the Spanish custom of changing a singular pronoun to plural in order to show respect in formal situations, so we change ka to kayo and then move it after ba. We also need to add po as a sign of respect. Everything else stays the same. Nagsasalita po ba kayo ng Ingles? Marunong po ba kayong mag-Ingles? Nagsasalita po ba kayo ng Ingles? Marunong po ba kayong mag-Ingles? If you want to be even more formal, you can add mawalang galang lang po before the sentence. It means, excuse me. Mawalang galang lang po. Nagsasalita po ba kayo ng Ingles? Excuse me, do you speak English? Mawalang galang lang po. Marunong po ba kayong mag-Ingles? Here are some common responses you might hear. Oo. Yes. Oo. Konti. A little. Konti. Hindi. No. Hindi. Now it's time for Erica's tips. For those of you who are not only English speakers, you can use this question with any language you need. Just substitute Ingles with Español for Spanish, Hapon for Japanese, Italiano for Italian, Aleman for German, and so on. In the last lesson, we learned the phrase, mawalang galang lang po. Nagsasalita po ba kayo ng Ingles? Excuse me, do you speak English? We mentioned the phrase, mawalang galang lang po, which means, excuse me, in formal Filipino. In this lesson, we're going to learn how to use this and other words when apologizing in Filipino. We can use mawalang galang lang po when we need to stop someone to ask a question. It literally means just to be rude, but is used to mean excuse me. For example, mawalang galang lang po, nasaan po ang palengke? Excuse me, where is the market? Mawalang galang lang po, nasaan po ang palengke? There is another phrase we use to mean excuse me, and that is paumanhin po. However, paumanhin po is used when you have bothered someone and could also mean I'm sorry. Paumanhin po. We use mawalang galang lang po and paumanhin po exclusively for formal situations. For informal situations, Filipinos usually just say, excuse me. But if there is something you really want to apologize for, it might be better to use a different phrase. That phrase is, patawarin mo ako. It means, please forgive me, and is used in informal situations. Patawarin mo ako. In formal situations, we say, patawarin niyo po ako. Patawarin niyo po ako. Here we added po and turned the second person pronoun into plural. Another common phrase Filipinos use for apologizing is, pasensya na po kayo. Pasensya na po kayo. This phrase is usually heard from shopkeepers when apologizing to customers. It can be translated as, please be patient with us. Now it's time for Erica's tips. In the Philippines, it is normal to simply say, "Excuse me," or "I'm sorry," since English is commonly used in conversation. You could also add po to these phrases to make them sound a bit more formal and sincere. "Excuse me po," or "Excuse po." "I'm sorry po," or "Sorry po." In the last lesson, we learned how to introduce ourselves in Filipino. In this lesson, we're going to learn how to use good manners as we thank people. Handa na ba kayo? Are you ready? Then let's go. Here's how we say thank you in Filipino. It's very easy. Salamat. Salamat. Salamat means thank you. When saying thank you very much, you just need to add maraming. Maraming salamat. Maraming salamat. Marami means a lot, and the NG is a connector added to marami to connect marami and salamat. Maraming salamat literally means many thanks and is equivalent to thank you very much. During the last lesson, we mentioned the informal and formal way of speaking Filipino. Salamat is the informal way to thank someone. When thanking someone older than you need to use the polite formal form. Do you remember what we need in order to do that? That's right. We just need to add the word po. Salamat po. Salamat po. If you really want to thank someone in a formal setting, you can add maraming, which means a lot, as we have just learned. Maraming salamat po. Maraming salamat po. Now, how do you answer? It's easy. Just say, walang anuman. Walang anuman. Walang anuman literally means it's nothing, but it is the equivalent of you are welcome. Wala means nothing, while anuman stands for whatsoever. It is a very common phrase to say when replying to a friend or a stranger who is thanking you. To make it formal and more polite, just add po. Walang anuman po. Walang anuman po. So when someone says salamat or maraming salamat po to you, you can simply reply with walang anuman or walang anuman po. Yes, it's that easy.
Remember, here's what you can do to learn all of these words by heart. Drill these words with our spaced repetition flashcards, which will help cement these words into your long-term memory. Save them to the Word Bank, your personal vocabulary collection, where you can print out your own study sheets, or review the words with our looped vocabulary slideshow, and play it until you know all of the words. So click the link in the description right now and sign up for your free lifetime account to get these lessons and study tools.